Hello and good evening. My name's Jess Farmer for Gymbia Fitness and the Gymbia down in Hackney Wick in East London. And tonight I'm going to be talking about primal pattern dieting and how to eat right for your metabolic type, which will be the first in my video series for nutrition. So what is a primal pattern and what is a metabolic type? So metabolic typing is the theory that each different person in the world is completely, wildly different and wonderfully unique. So Bill is different to Ben, even though they're both flower pot men. Okay, so because we're all wildly different, we're going to have different nutritional needs, and we're going to react differently to different foods. Some foods we're going to react favorably to, other foods we're going to react unfavorably to, and they're going to not make us feel very good. So why is it a good idea to eat according to your metabolic type? So if you eat to your metabolic type, you can enjoy feeling better, having more energy, weight loss, and very few negative connotations associated with food, such as getting tired or bloating or gas. So we eat right to our metabolic type. It keeps our system ticking over really nicely and really well, and promotes increased health. So we've got three main metabolic types. Now you can be any combination of the three and everywhere in between, but the three main types are polar, equatorial, and variable. So I'm going to explain what the three metabolic types are and what kind of ratios they eat. So this is all to do with what kind of ratio of fats, proteins and carbohydrates are most favorable to each individual. So a polar type is going to work better from fats and proteins predominantly, while an equatorial is going to work and get more benefits from eating a diet higher in carbohydrates. So polar type. So imagine an Inuit culture. So Eskimos is the sort of crude name for it, but we'll say Inuit. Because they live in a land of ice, they live in the North Pole and Greenland. The availability for carbohydrates through vegetables is very, very, very low, because most of the year is frozen. There's no way that these vegetables can grow, which would be where they would have got this source of carbs from. Now their diet was very high in fish, like elk, seal. Basically lots of fats and proteins. So their system is able to process this high amount of fats and proteins very, very well, and it's most effective for them. So secondly, we've got equatorial, so people who live closer to the equator. They're going to have a diet higher in carbohydrates because there's just way more availability. So guys who live closer to the equator are going to react better from a diet high in carbohydrates. Now, one important thing to mention here is that both species of people at opposite ends of, well, not quite opposite ends, but completely different places in the planet, both enjoyed before the advent of modern civilization and Western foods, both enjoyed optimum levels of health, even though they ate completely different ratios of fats, proteins and carbs. So with Inuit culture is eating predominantly fats and proteins, and equatorials eating up to like 70% carbs in some instances. But both peoples enjoying optimum health, which is the key factor here. Now they would have both cultures would have eaten a diet high in whole food. All whole foods. So that's basically things that have eyes or something that grows. Now, as a general rule for your food, if it didn't once have eyes, or if it didn't once come from the ground or from a tree, you don't want to be eating that, because all sorts of processed foods, all sorts of chemicals go in, and it's not good for us. So Myself, personally, I'll tell you a little story about what happened with myself and what happened when I did eat to my metabolic type, and then when I didn't eat to my metabolic type. So I'm a polar type, so high in fats and proteins. I very much live to eat, and love proteins and love fats, and as a result have tweaked my diet to have predominantly fats and proteins. But I'm not excluding carbohydrates because you need the balance. But different people need a different balance. So I react very well to fats and proteins. It energizes me. I can eat as much as I want, and I'm not going to get that bloated, heavy feeling. I'm going to feel good. Now, this is a very important marker for yourself and whether foods make you feel good or bad. So I would encourage to keep a food diary. I've got a group called Fitness with Farmer, whereby if you go on there, you can download a food diary template. So you want to be looking at how you feel about 30 minutes after eating the food. So fats and proteins make me feel great. I do like the occasional sugary treat as much as the next person. In fact, I bloody love it. But I don't eat as much anymore just because of what it does to me. Now, the last time, in fact, while I was learning about primal patterning, I ate a load of sugar and had a big dip in my mood, brain fog, headaches, all sorts of bad stuff started happening, and no good. So to bring myself back, okay, I was like, I know I've got to eat some fats right now. So I ate some fish, drank loads of water, and then brought myself back, re-energized, and out of that bad place that the sugar put me in. Now, we can think of sugar as carbohydrates, by the way. I could also tell you a story from one of my clients. I was getting her to fill out a regimented food diary just to see. We were looking for intolerances, but this came up as a byproduct. So, carbs, I feel tired. So pasta, she felt tired. Then the next day, bread, feel tired. The next day, pasta, okay, in bed at 6 o'clock. The next day, steak and greens at 8 o'clock in the evening. Felt great, felt fine. It's like, okay. We've put her through a questioning process and found out that she was a protein type, a polar type. Since then, she's been we've tweaked her diet to be eating predominantly fats and proteins, and she's enjoying much more energy and just generally having a better time. So we can see there, carbohydrates for this particular person were not the best thing. However, if you're an equatorial type, then eating that pasta and eating that bread may have been like the best thing for her. Now, everyone is different. We cannot do cookie cutter approaches. Okay, you see all these diet companies come out with like this latest new fad, this latest new amazing diet that you're going to lose X number of kilos in how many weeks. None of them work. And we're talking about that a little bit later on in the week. It's a bit of a rant. But what I'm basically saying is that you cannot follow a cookie cutter approach. Everyone is completely different. Different sizes, different ages. Age can affect things. Different periods in their life, different environmental stresses, because different stresses and different situations can turn you from a polar type to an equatorial type. Finally, I'm going to talk about the type in the middle, the variable type. Now, for variable types, they actually oscillate between being polar and equatorial. Now, for these people, it's a little bit more challenging to get their heads around this because there's a little bit more work involved. Now, that work comes in the form of listening to your body. So really getting used to what foods you react well to, what foods you react badly to, about half an hour after you eat it. So a good marker, half an hour after you eat something, do you experience a sudden drop in mood? Do you experience sluggishness? Do you feel full? Do you feel bloated? Do you not feel good? That's going to be a bad food for you. Good food, half an hour afterwards, you feel, oh yeah, all right, I'm feeling okay. Yeah, you can like literally feel the goodness going into you sometimes. So the variable types need to be really conscious on learning what's good for their body and also listening to their body as well. But also everyone should be listening to their body and reconnecting to the body because in our hectic modern day life, we lose that connection to ourselves, and we don't have a clue what's good or bad for us a lot of the time. We're just eating things, and because because we don't give ourselves the chance to eat well, obviously not everyone, but a lot of people don't give themselves the chance to eat well for a period of time, so they're always not optimal and always experiencing a low level of energy until you start eating really well, and then you really do notice when you do eat something bad, because it takes a massive dip on your energy. So I would say to people in the next sort of week or so, be really conscious about what food is doing to your body, doing to your mood. How do you feel after eating something? And through that consciousness, you can begin to begin to work out what's good for you and what's bad for you. Now, if anyone is interested in finding out what metabolic type they are, whether they're polar, an equatorial, or a variable type oscillating between the two, I'm going to do a blog post after this which is going to have a questionnaire in it. The questionnaire is from a fantastic book called Eat, Move and Be Healthy by one of my mentors, Paul Chek. He's a great guy, very prominent in the field of holistic health. Very much recommend getting it. And what I'll do is I'll put it into a blog post. You guys can find out which primal pattern type you are, and then if you let me know, then I can make a recommendation of what kind of ratios of foods that you want to be eating. You can also sign up to my newsletters. You're going to get a whole host of good, great information over the next 7 days if you do so. So the rest of the week, I'm going to be talking more nutrition. Off the top of my head, I'm going to be talking about the 4 white devils tomorrow: sugar, flour, milk, and salt. I'm going to be talking about food intolerances, how to test for yourself for food intolerances, and then work to hopefully get rid of those food intolerances. I'm going to be talking about diets and why they do not work, why diets are the worst thing ever. I hate them. It's going to be a rant, full-blown rant. Diets don't work. They destroy your body and they destroy your self-esteem in the process. They don't work. Never diet. Yeah, full rant on Thursday. And then Friday I'll be talking about fats. And cheers, Teeny. Fats. Whoa. I'm going to be talking all about fats, what are good fats, bad fats, how important they are to us, and why you should be eating more of them. Especially if you're a polar type and you need more fats and proteins in your diet. So I hope you guys have found that useful. I'm going to put the blog post in the comments below. I'm also going to, if you want a food diary template, join the group Fitness with Farmer. Okay, so have a good evening and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Cheers, bye.